Welcome to the D.E.A.D podcast. I'm your host, Desi, and on this podcast, I discuss all things spooky and weird, from ghosts, demons, religion, to folklore, urban legends, true crime, and all things paranormal, with some horror movie reviews sprinkled in. So join me on this spooky ride.
I'm Felicia,
And I'm Ian.
and we are the Paranormal Lovers.
Hello, paranormal dudes, dudettes, and dudays. Welcome back to another episode of The Paranormal Lovers.
Hey guys.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for joining us for another episode 94. As you can see, we have a special guest for you guys today, but we're going to go ahead and get our regular business out the right way real quick. If you would be so kind, give us a like, follow, and share on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and the new Blue Sky, that thing that's going to take over the Twitter. I don't call it X. Who the fuck calls it X? Twitter.
Right.
Searching for the Paranormal Lovers in the search bar. If you or someone you know prefers videos, search for our name on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to support our podcast, we have a merch store at theparanormallovers.threadless.com. We also have those 2 relief designs where we will have all the proceeds go to Hurricane Helene relief. In a few weeks, actually, now we have the 2024 Christmas collection. There's also a few recent election shirts. If y'all want to go check those out. If you voted for him, I wouldn't go check those out. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/paranormal lovers. For $5 a month, you get early access to unedited videos of both shows, as well as 2 stickers. One from the shop and one handmade by this guy. And once we have those 20 Patreons, we will add a bi-weekly family movie night. Lots of good movies coming out next year. Minecraft. Did you guys see the new trailer for Minecraft?
Minecraft really bad.
Creates an automatic chicken cooker.
Yeah.
Chick's like, I don't understand this world. Looks so good. I want to enjoy that. All right. And lastly, if you have a personal story, a topic request, or you just want to yell at us for not being a part of the maggot cult, email us at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com. All right, guys. Now, with all that out of the way, I'm pleased to introduce a new friend that we made last month, John Tooni. And I thought it was Tooni. I've been calling him Tooni for the last month. Tooni. Nope, it's Tooni. Please welcome John.
Hey, guys.
Yay! Our first guest. Like I said, we met John last month. We went to the Skeely.
Skeely. Yeah, Skeely.
Skeely.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like a C in there. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
We went to the hunt at Oconaluftee Village. John is the storyteller, and he was at the fire the night that we went. And we had a great time listening to you tell your story.
Thank you.
And we were like, we got to get this guy on the show. But before we get into that, John, how long have you been working at the village? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man. I've been working at the village for at least 10, 11 years now, on and off.
Wow.
There's been times where it's been on myself. I thought things were personal, but it wasn't. So, yeah. But other than that, yeah, on and off, just been working there. And me, not really much I can say about myself because I feel like I'm bragging. So I don't
brag, bro. We like people to brag.
I am a Cherokee, EBCI, Eastern Band of Cherokee. I live on the Koala boundary, and I also live over here in Waynesville. And 32 years old, and I'm a storyteller, also a historical interpreter, and a historian. And I'm pretty much just a normal guy, I guess.
That's cool. That's really awesome. I love the history part of it.
Yeah, we just started a history podcast ourselves.
Okay, cool.
We did. Actually just did the Trail of Tears last week. Kind of
Oh, really?
I had John for that one because that was rough. All right. So how did you learn the stories that you tell? Is this something that you did, like you learned through your family, or?
No, actually. I actually was kind of strung into it. There was a day at the village where we didn't have enough guides to take people through, and so as a way for them to try and have me uh, or have people be up there having some entertainment, they needed somebody to tell stories. And they had asked me if I knew any, and I said, well, I'll know like two of them. And they said, well, go with it and then see where that goes. Now, when I said yeah to do it, I was nervous. I was a train wreck because I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know this story all that well.
Public speaking too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
terrifying.
and that's the thing too. Is like, public speaking, and I am a walking contradiction. I like to say, because I am literally so introverted that when I am, say, like doing this podcast or doing something for work or anything like that, I am so extroverted. But as soon as that wears off, I am so introverted that I'm just like, yeah, I just don't want to hang around. I want to go home. Everything, yeah. But yeah, when I told those first stories, those were going to be some of the two that I knew was naturally Spearfinger. Spearfinger is a real popular one,
Mhm.
and the other one is how the possum's tail became bare. And then later on, through my brother and also through reading James Mooney's book with the Cherokee legends in it, I started learning more about some of the other stories. Some of them I still don't know as much as I would like, but some I really do enjoy telling a lot more than others.
Mhm.
Stuff that catches my interest. Granted that as a storyteller, you would, I guess you would have to know a little bit of every story.
Yeah.
I mean, even with stuff that you get wrong, you can always go back and correct it. It's just like with a storyteller on the Ballinger. Her name's Kathy Littlejohn. She was telling us, because there was a class that we were that I was a part of. She said that there is no such thing as a perfect story. If you know the basis of the story, and as long as the premise is there, then it's still going to be considered that story. There's no such thing as the perfect story. And I heard that, and I took that, and I have actually kind of told the stories a bit differently compared to how other storytellers do.
That's cool.
Because other storytellers, they will go and say the story word for word, how it's either written down or how they told it. No. I like to, add a little bit of like maybe silliness to some of the stories.
Sure.
Maybe add a little bit more embellishment, shall I say?
Yeah.
Because that's what these legends and stories are. They deserve embellishment. They deserve things like that. As long as you don't stray too far from what is written down, what has been passed down to us orally, as long as the premise is there, then you can tell those stories.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it anyway. So
That's
That's
cool.
really
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome to
Add
hear
some
that.
character to
yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of how I like try to do my notes, especially with the history podcast, but also with the paranormal one, just because like it's nice to get the basis of the facts in the story here, but I also want to add my touch
yeah,
to it, kind of make it a little more shoot, autism, brain fart.
personal.
Yeah,
Make
a little
it-
more
Make
relatable.
it personal.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for. A little
Yeah.
more relatable.
Put a part of yourself in it.
Exactly.
yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people who do tell stories do. They put a little bit of themselves in the stories,
Mhm.
because you can relate to a lot of things throughout, certain stories, or even through movies, stuff like that. You can relate to certain characters. You can also relate to maybe even the storyteller who is telling that particular story. You can relate to, you don't have to have that. Oh yeah, I have to relate to this character. No, you can relate to that storyteller and how they're talking and how how their movements are,
Mhm.
because I mean, even with some storytellers, yeah, they can stand there and they can just do the storytelling and people will still be intrigued. But I don't know. I guess it might just be because I need to move when I'm telling stories. I have to use my space
Yeah.
because I was actually part of a theater program back in high school, which only lasted for about maybe one semester, and we went and started doing theater, and then went to radio. But even then, the theater teacher and the radio teacher said, even though that you have a voice, you can still make it, you can still fill the room. And it's the same way with theater, except you're just going to use your body, and you can also use your voice that way,
Yeah.
because your voice is also going to be is part of you, and you can still fill the room. You don't have to be loud, you don't have to be too soft, you can still have that presence, and that's another thing that I've learned throughout, which is really hard, especially when you're as growing up as a teenager and into my 20s, and even now being 32, like looking back on it, I see where all the things that I have learned has gone through with storytelling and everything. So yeah, it's one of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, and I think
It's cool.
with storytelling, especially with like what you do for a living, you kind of need, it's meant to be not just an oral thing. I think it's supposed to mean to be also like a physical
Mm-hmm.
thing that you can see and
Yes.
also kind of feel.
Yeah.
Whether it's with, your indigenous stories, or like my dad's side of the family, we're Gullah Geechee, which is like a whole other thing down. We have our stories down there too in South Carolina and stuff. And when they tell their stories, they do the same thing. They get into it and they get movement and they use the space. And I think those stories are meant to be told like that. You can read them in a book and you can learn it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it, but you don't really like feel it and understand it unless you really experience it.
Yeah, because I feel like in certain cases, like especially when you're telling stories to kids, kids, they do have a great imagination, but they also want to see the characters come to life as well.
Mhm.
Even if it's just one person telling that story, they want to see these characters come to life, and prime example, early Disney, with Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, or Bambi, all those, you see that how it's animated, and you see how the characters, are animated, and how they come to life just through the animation. I mean, as a kid, you can think of as like, wow, that's amazing. I can see that character, and if they read a book, and if and no fault of Tolkien, but he does explain a lot, and I mean a lot.
Well, too much.
Yeah. Which in certain senses, with kids or adults, if they have that great imagination, they tend to fade that, because they're like, all right, let's keep going on.
It's like, okay, I picture it.
Yeah.
Can we move on now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a prime example with Tolkien and everything. I was going off on a tangent here. Is that the chapter in the Fellowship of the Ring with Tom Bombadil? That one right there was a bit too long, because when you read it, you can see the character, you can imagine what he's like, but then as soon as it goes on, you're just like, okay, I'm already annoyed with this. That's why you can talk about detail, but you also have to make sure you cut out certain things too.
Yeah.
But it also depends on how much time you have as well. So
yeah, I'm a fanatic reader, and like I've found myself being like, okay, like I love fantasy novels. And there's always like fight scenes in them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, flip. I've seen you fight the same time in like 50 books. I don't need to see this anymore.
Yep.
And they just go on and on about it.
Back to the character thing, I read to Patty in different voices every night.
Yeah.
To put her to sleep and all. if I'm reading like say Teen Titans Go, I'll do Starfire's voice and and then I'll switch over to Beast Boy and I'll put a little bit of character in there.
Yeah.
Try to when I'm
He's
reading
a lot
to
better
her.
about that than I am. I'm not so good with the make believe stuff, but
Yeah, and I think that's okay too. Like
it's tricky when reading.
When reading, yeah, because like especially like if you're reading a book and it has characters that a child already knows, they kind of want to hear that, in their mind, they want to hear that. And even if you can't do the voice all that well, as long as the premise is there, they can still hear it and they can still be like, okay, this is the characters that I know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Well, if you guys have been a long time listener, y'all will remember he's touched on it. We covered Spearfinger back in episode 17. I want to correct myself. I got the birds in the story mixed up. They're backwards. It was the other way around. My bad.
It says Mike is muted on here.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one on the thing is going.
The phone is
muted.
The phone
Oh, okay. I was like, which one is this one?
No.
Yeah, I thought it was all like on your side too. So I was
No.
like, this is just like making sure.
No, you're good. If you want to hear our stream, you can put your headphones on if you want.
Yeah. But the night we went on the hunt,
I can hear you.
We walked up and you were telling Spearfinger's story. But she is not the only stone legend of Cherokee. And this week, we were going to ask if you wanted to tell your favorite story, the legend of Stonecoat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one's one of my favorites, yeah. The story of Stonecoat, he was a old man. A lot of folks, this is just from, being told, from my brother and a few others saying that it was either a descendant of Spearfinger or that he was the brother of Spearfinger, maybe even the husband. No one really knows for sure. It was just one of those things that has been told to me as well. And Stonecoat, he was a blind man and he would hunt with a walking stick which had a crystal on the top of it. And the way he would hunt was that he would point it in the air and he would bring it back and he would sniff it. And if there was nothing that caught his attention, he would go into the next direction. He'd bring it back and do the same thing until he got something. Now, when he would bring it back, he would sniff it and he would go in that direction. Now, there was a hunter that was out. He was scouting ahead a bit from the others, and he happened to look down on this ridge here. And when he looked down, he happened to see that man, and he was pointing his walking stick. And he brought it back, and he sniffed it. And that hunter, he had looked, and he was getting kind of scared. And well, when he brought it back and sniffed that crystal, he went and walked in that direction. And he came up and there was a river. And that hunter happened to look and he was like, there's no way that old man can go across that river. And what he seen was that man get that walking stick, toss it into the water, and it formed a bridge. And when it formed that bridge, he walked over. And as soon as he hit land, that bridge collapsed and it turned back into his walking stick. And he kept walking in that direction. Now, when that hunter seen that, he went back and told the rest of them that Stonecoat was coming, and they all collectively decided that they need to go back to the village and get 7 women that were on their moon, and they were going to leave the oldest and go all the way to the youngest. The youngest was at her first, which was the most powerful, and so they were going through, and they went and hid. And so Stonecoat, and as he was walking, he went and he came to that first one, pointed his walking stick, brought it back, and he sniffed it. And he says, my goodness, my child, you are sick. You don't need to be out here. Go home. And he goes on. And as he's walking, he comes to the next one, does the exact same thing. But by this time, he was feeling a bit weak. And with each time that he would come up to one of those women, he would start feeling weaker and weaker and weaker. So finally, he was coughing up blood. And he was able to get to that last one, brought it up, and then brought it back and sniffed it and collapsed. Now, once he collapsed, all the warriors and everybody started gathering around him, and they started putting sticks and dirt, or not dirt, but some leaves and everything to burn him. And as he was burning, he was telling the people of some of our stories, some of our songs, and he did that all night long until the sun happened to reach the peak on this mountain. And when that sun hit that peak, his voice faded. And with that crystal that he had, it comes from an uktana, which is a gigantic snake in Cherokee culture, and it is said to actually be able to tell you the future. But that's a different story entirely, right there. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's Stonecoat. That's one of my favorite stories to tell and also to listen to. Now, too, is that with Stonecoat. The reason why I like telling it isn't because of how I was told the story. Like it's just like with any other storyteller, they tell the version of Stonecoat. There's different versions of it. It's as long as the premise is still there, it's still that story. And do what? Yeah, it also really depends on the audience too. So, like you heard my brother say, because again, with the audience, it really depends on if you have kids in there or if it's all adults. Only time that I will tell the story of Stonecoat is if it's more adults. Because a lot of people, like especially with teenagers, when they hear like I made this mistake when I first told the story. There was a group of teenagers that I was telling a story to, and I said the moon. They're like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh crap! I forgot. This is not the story to be telling these kids."
But like, this is all new to us.
Yeah. And then I had to. Then I said, you might, for you ladies, you might call it your monthly and everything. And that was when some of the teenage girls like, "Oh, okay," and the boys like, they're like giggling and everything. I'm like, "Oh yeah,
you're just sitting there staring at them like, really?"
Yeah, I'm just like, I made that mistake. Well, yeah, I can't go back now.
Yeah, I remember teenage boys are a little.
I mean, even as an adult, I'm still the same way. I still laugh at things like that.
Just wait till you have a girl. You're gonna be like, "Oh God, this is not funny."
Our audience is mostly other podcasters, so
yeah.
And I think the last time I looked, like 80% of our listeners are women between the ages of 20 and 40. So
yeah. Okay.
They know exactly what their moon is.
Yeah.
They ain't chuckling. They're like, "Oh, poor women. It's terrible."
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, do you know of any stories off the top of your head that might bring us important lessons that we can take with us today in this day and age of just
craziness?
The world.
Yeah. There's a few of them actually.
Anything that's just like, I don't know, off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head. Okay. Right off the top of my head, I'll go to Possum.
Possum.
Yes.
Okay.
Possum. He was boastful. He was really boastful. I mean, he would go around and he would talk about something that he doesn't have today, which is hair on his tail. A lot of folks be thinking like, well, why did Possum do that? Because he's scary, he's ugly looking, he eats things out of the trash. Like, well, that's him now, but a long time ago he had a big old bushy tail, and he would go around, he would cuddle with it, he would go and say, "Oh, look at my tail, look at my beautiful tail." I said, "You're just jealous of my tail. You love my tail and you know it." And he would go around, he would say, "Hey, do you want to touch my tail?" "No, you can't touch it, your paws are too greasy." "No, no, no." And he would go around, he would like just hug it, and all those animals, they hated that because he did that for so long. So they called a council, and the bear, he was the head of that council. And he looks around, he says, "Well, this possum needs to be taught a lesson. He has too much ego. He's getting a bit too big for his britches." And so they all discussed it, and it was finally decided that they would call a dance in a couple of nights. And Rabbit, he was tasked to go and find that possum. And there was old Possum, he was waddling on down the trail, and that old Rabbit, he goes, "Hey, Possum! Hey, hey, hey! Hey!" And Possum, he turns around, he says, "Well, hello, how are you?" And old Rabbit, he goes, "Hey, yeah, we're going to have a dance here in a couple of nights, and we want you to be the guest of honor." And that old Possum, boy, that filled his ego up even more. He goes, "You want me to be the guest of honor?" "Yeah, we want you to be the guest of honor. So why don't we head on down to Cricket's?" Now, Cricket, he was the barber of the animals at that time. And so they get to Cricket's house, and Rabbit, he says, "All right there, Cricket, I want you to give my buddy Possum the best trim you could possibly give him. And I want all those girls to look at him and say, 'Oh, Possum, your beautiful tail is so bushy.'" And boy, that fed Possum's tail ego even more. And so he's like, "Yeah, this is what I want." And so he gets comfortable, and that old Cricket, he said, "All right, I can do that." Well, what Possum didn't know was that Cricket was in on this too. So what he did was that he started trimming the top of the hair, and he started singing. And that old Possum, he got a bit too relaxed, and he fell asleep. And when he woke up after the trim was done, he was excited. Boy, he happened to look, and there it was, his old tail wrapped in leather. And he freaked out. He said, my tail, what'd you do to my tail?" That old Cricket said, "All right, Possum," and said, he he says, "I want you to know that I wrapped it up in leather because you don't want it to get dirty for before the dance here in a couple of nights now, do you?" And so Possum, he calms down. He goes, "Yeah, that is right. Yeah." He goes, "Okay, yeah, all right. Well, thank you, Cricket. I'm going to head on home now." So he does. And as soon as the night of the dance comes, everybody's there. They're already dancing. But Possum, he was running a bit late. We call it Indian time. We get there when we get there, you know.
It's also black folk time.
Yeah. but yeah, he was trying. He tried his best though. He tried his best to sneak in, to make sure nobody's seen him. But oh dear, he had seen him. He said, "Hey, Possum! Hey, why don't you get in there and lead a dance?" And they're like, "Yeah, get in there." Well, that old Possum, he goes in, and as he's going, he goes and he starts hearing those rattles going. Boy, he starts moving, and as he's moving, next thing you know, he's really dancing, and you just see dust come up from the dirt as he was stomping. And next thing you know, he's really into it. And that old bear, he shouts out, "Hey, Possum, let's see that tail." "Yeah, let's see that tail." Boy, he was so into it that he got that leather and he unraveled that and he kept dancing until finally he started feeling something a bit cold, kind of damp. But he pays no mind to it. He keeps on going. And as he's going, he starts noticing something kind of in the corner of his eye. But he stops for a second and he just happens to look down on his feet. And there it was, something ugly that looked like an earthworm wrapped around his foot. And so he kicks it. Then he keeps on dancing. And as he's dancing, he keeps seeing whatever this thing is following him. And he don't like it one bit. And he happens to stop. And all the other animals, boy, they were kind of quiet. And he was just looking around. And he was just like, "I don't like this. Whatever this thing is, it's following me. And I'm going to try and grab it." And so he spreads his legs a little bit and he happens to look under him. And there it was. It was just hanging there. He said, "All right, there it is." And so as soon as he got that chance, he went and he grabbed whatever that thing was and he pulled it. And as soon as he pulled it, he went up in the air. So his butt was up in the sky and his tail was right there on his head. All the animals, boy, they were just a laughing. Bear, he was laughing so hard he fell out of his seat. And boy, that old Possum, all he could do was just kind of hiss. And you know how they sound when they get caught off guard? They kind of have that little snort. They're going to go, that's what he did. He kind of did that. And then after that, all he could do was just fall over and play dead. He fainted because he was embarrassed. And even today, the possum is still embarrassed by that tale. It was all because of what he did. he was taught a lesson to not be boastful, to always remain humble with things that you have and even things that you may know, because even with the things that you may know, you can become a bit too boastful, and there's always going to be somebody that will trim your tail, just like how those animals did that possum. So
It's a great lesson.
oh yeah,
That was
yeah.
a good lesson. That was
I
so
think-
good.
I think the first thing I learned in I used to be an alcoholic real bad,
Mhm.
and I went to AA to kind of help me cure it, and that was one of the greatest lessons that they taught was, don't let your ego get so high
Hmm.
because it's basically your downfall.
Yeah, it really is. It's a lot of people's downfall.
Yeah.
I mean, you have that pride, you have that ego. Although I will say that there have been times where I've gotten a bit too prideful and a bit too boastful. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it. Yeah, he's been there. He's known that. He's even brought me down, back down to earth when that's happened.
Sure.
So he's
The
all.
razor's always sharp.
But yeah, it's always been one of those things where I just if I become a bit too boastful or have a bit too much of an ego, I always make sure to get, I will definitely say get my head knocked down a few pegs, because I'll go to him and be like, was that a bit too? He goes, yep. And he'll tell me what I need to do a bit different and everything. And I have taken all that from him. Granted that we do like siblings do, we fight and everything. But, in the end, when it comes time to being humble, when it comes time to being, in that headspace that it needs to be done. So but granted that I will always say, and he don't believe me half the time, is that I always get nervous when I do, storytelling, or when I still do, go out to do other shows or whatever. I get nervous, and I think for me personally, if a person doesn't get nervous, then I don't think, I think that, yeah, you are comfortable. But for me, if I'm not nervous, then that means I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be in that position, because I feel like nervousness shows you that, yes, I am here. It just goes to show that, hey, I'm still alive. I'm still here. I'm able to do this right now. So yeah, nervousness can be a good and a bad thing at the same time.
It can. It is, and that's something with his job. We can't actually say their name, but it's a very physical job and a very dangerous job. And there's been people there that get complacent,
Hmm.
and then they get hurt,
Yeah.
and they get like real hurt.
A certain
too.
amount of nervousness, and
Yeah.
what I do is like, and it's essential, or
Yeah.
somebody will like,
Yeah,
So
and
it's like, just don't get too cocky.
yeah,
Just don't get too
never,
cocky.
never get too cocky,
Be
because
confident. I'm
yeah,
all for people being confident and
Yeah.
having confidence in what you're doing. Don't let people treat you like you're worth less than you are. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Know your worth, but like, don't get too cocky, because then you're gonna get hurt.
yeah. That kind of reminds me of Bear again, because he got a bit too cocky. Yeah, he gets cocky. Gosh, Turtle, he even gets cocky a little bit too.
I got cocky one time with a bear, and it decided to come into our yard, and so I came in the house. And this was just a couple months ago. I said, "Sorry, Mr. Bear, go on about your way. Have a nice day."
Yeah.
Yeah, we do actually have quite a few black bears around here, which is
Yeah. There was one time, it was probably about maybe 8 years ago. We were me, my mom, my brother, were outside, and all of a sudden we just happened to hear this stomping, and we were like, what's going on? We happened to look up, and just above the house there was a big old elk just looking at us. Yeah, it just looked. It was just like minded its own business,
Just,
turned around,
hey.
went on. Yep. That's what I was like, because it was I don't even know what they refer to the males as. I know that bulls, yeah. But it was a bull, and he just happened to look, and we were looking, taking pictures and everything. And as soon as he left, he turns around and walks off. Haven't even seen that elk since. That was the only time that there was an elk above our house.
I love that. He just like looked over and he was like, stewards of the land.
Yep.
I'm out.
Yep.
Thank God it was not mating season. That could have ended much, much worse.
Yeah, it was in the fall time. It was in the fall time, but he was just like, just minding his own business. Yep.
That's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
Elks. All right. Well, do you know when the village will be back open?
We usually open in April. It's a bit too early to tell when we open back up. But we usually open in April. It's like maybe, as far as I know, it might be mid-April. But this past year we opened, and I kid you not, we literally opened on April Fool's Day.
Oh,
Nice.
Lord.
Yeah.
But that was a fun day.
It really was. It really was, because a lot of folks thought we were actually playing a prank on them, saying that, "Oh yeah, we're open at April Fools." No, we actually opened on April Fool's Day.
Today.
Yeah.
They gotta
Yeah.
Is this a joke? Is this for real? I'm
yeah.
gonna show up.
But yeah, it's usually in April, and we usually run until October, but that usually varies on a lot of other things too, like on how much school groups we get in. Will determine on if we close in mid-October, late October, or even into November.
Yeah.
It really depends on that. But yeah, the Oconaluftee Indian Village, it is great place if you want to learn some of the history, and also a lot of our crafts, such as finger weaving, beadwork, pottery, baskets, wood carving, weaponry. It's really good. And we also do some dance demonstrations as well at 12 and at 3 there on days when it's not raining, because it
I don't want to be out there doing it.
But I normally do advertise this as well, but I'm not too sure if we're doing it this year or this coming year. Is we normally do a battle reenactment called A Time of War, which usually runs from June all the way until August. And it's just a small battle reenactment from some of the people that work out Unto These Hills, the outdoor drama out there. They go over to the village and they do like a 20-30 minute show, and about some English going through the village, rating them, everything. So I'm not too sure if we're going to do it this year, this coming year. They're wanting to do something a bit different, such as like storytelling, or maybe even do some more dances. But other than that, though, it really depends, because they usually start advertising all that usually in about maybe May. With Time of War or stuff like that. So they usually advertise that in May.
That sounds good. You guys keep an eye on that online. And actually, I don't know, I think it's sorry guys, I don't remember what the name of the page is, but it's a page on Instagram that's like tied in with the village.
Cherokee Adventure.
Yes.
Yeah. Cherokee. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cherokee Adventure. Yeah. That's on
Yeah.
Instagram. If you're on Facebook, they're on Facebook as well.
Yeah. You guys give them a follow. They have all that cool stuff on there. I actually saw a picture of you on there the other day. I was like, oh, it's Tooni. Tooni.
Well, you could call me Tooni as well, because I have a lot of coworkers that call me Tooni just because they want to.
Because they want to.
Yeah.
I can't see. That's something that like we have a kid and we're trying to teach her about consent and respecting people's autonomy. And I actually had to teach myself. A friend of his last name is Tate. I love to call him Tater Cakes. Hates it. He hates it, but he allows me to do it. But I had to stop myself, because I'm like, I got to teach her to respect what people want to be called.
Yeah.
Because she automatically took it up and was like, "Oh, Uncle Tater."
Yeah. And he doesn't let it bother him. He doesn't show that it bothers him. I think for him, that's like, oh, that's their little pet name for me. But yeah, I will call you Tooni because that's your name. Okay.
When it comes to me and my brother, if you ever see us together and you just want to refer us to as our last name, if you ever see us together, always keep in mind that I will be John, and my brother will be Tooni, because if somebody says Tooni and we hear that and we're together, we will both turn around.
Yeah.
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 Because out of all of our friend groups, and even just with colleagues, they call us Tooni. And don't know why. Don't know why.
I think it's people that have had experience
name.
with military.
Yeah.
It's a cool name, and I think I took ROTC in
Yeah.
high school, and ever since then, if I like somebody's last name, that's your name.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
your last
and
name.
yeah, because there was one time a buddy of mine, he had seen me out there, and I think it was a Walmart here in Waynesville. He goes, said, "Hey, Tooni!" And both me and my brother, we happened to turn around, and look back, and I was like, "Who is he talking to?" And well, my brother, he recognized him first. He goes, "Oh, that's what's his name." He walks off. I was like, "Oh, hey," and then we sit there and talk for a few minutes. But yeah, if you ever see me and my brother out in public, I always refer to my brother as Tooni, even though that his name is Matt or Matthew, and I'm John. And you can call me anything that you want to. Just don't call me late for dinner. Yeah, just don't call me late for dinner. Yeah.
I can. Yep.
Yeah, but in the spirit of Thanksgiving,
Oh,
I do have a joke for y'all.
okay.
All right.
Come on.
All right. What do you call a limping turkey?
What do you call it?
I have no idea.
You call him wobble wobble wobble.
No, you gotta stop. No, 'cause I went to school with a kid that we nicknamed Wobbles.
Oh, wow.
He
Okay.
walked like this.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
think it's time to stuff it.
All right. So where can our friends find you on the interwebs if you would like for people to follow you and all that good jazz?
Oh, well, I
If
don't.
not, it's fine. Just be like, I don't want people to follow me on social media.
Well, I don't have any kind of like follow pages on Facebook or anything. It's just a personal Facebook that I put all my dad jokes on.
I love your dad jokes. They're
TikTok.
amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I also got a TikTok, which is Cherokee_myth92. That's on TikTok. I do a Cherokee word of the day, which I haven't done here in actually a while. I tend to forget that I have it unless I'm working at the village.
I got like 600 followers on all our TikTok, and I'm like,
We don't know how we got that.
yeah, but yeah, on
Thank you, guys.
on TikTok, yeah, Cherokee Myth.
Alright.
I also do what?
Fluent speak.
Fluent speaker, yeah. Yeah, my brother jokes that I'm a fluent speaker because I do a Cherokee word of the day and everything. Yeah, it cracks me up. Sometimes it does get a bit annoying because I'm like, I get it, okay. But I understand that it comes from love. I understand it comes from love, though.
I'm at work and I'm getting text messages. How do you say this?
Yeah. Well, I want to get it. I want to get the pronunciation correct because because some of the words that even if I don't know it, I will go to a portal on the internet, and it will have like certain words that'll be slower than compared to how it would be said normally. And like I will text him, say, "Hey, is this how you say it?" And I'll put it in as a way of putting it slower. And if he does a message back and I'll get that word out, he'll text me. It's like, it's supposed to be said this way. And he'll say it this way. I'm like, okay, well, this is what it says on the portal. And he'll go and he'll check it out, double check. And it was like, okay, well, normally it'll be said like this, but how you said it. And if it's said like that on there, that's fine. But this is how it would be normally said. Because even then, I still enjoy learning. Because he with him, he cracks me up sometimes too. It's like there was one day I made one tiny mistake, and I didn't even pick up on it. And he just comes in and he says, how do you say stand up? I was like, oh, because the context of the stand up that I was doing was to literally like stand up from like you're sitting. I did it as like you were, as you were laying down, and I was like, wait, I did the wrong one. Yeah, the context was stand up, because you're sitting down. That's what I did, and then he just comes in, and I automatically knew because he just gave me that look. This look that he gives me, it's always the yeah, and
too, don't I?
yeah,
She does that one again.
it's always
Yeah.
it's always that look. It's like, but yeah, on TikTok, yeah, I'm on TikTok. I also do have I do have an Instagram, same thing, Cherokee Myth 92, but I don't really post on there. And also got a YouTube, but that's more of a gaming channel than anything.
Nice.
So I haven't posted in about maybe 6 months. So
Oh, no.
yeah, I got stuff that I want to do, but I haven't dedicated my time
another
to.
follower right here. Get on it, son. Shy
I
watches
watch
YouTube every day.
like every day.
Yeah, but yeah, I've also got a gaming TikTok, which is Cherokee_Myth92 Gaming. That's another thing too. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that all the other people that are listening to this podcast probably don't care. But you know,
all 14 of them, I'm sure do care. And in 10 years, when 100 people find this, they'll care too.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we enjoyed having you on this week. Thank you so much for joining us, John. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You know where you can find us on the interwebs. And we will see you guys next week.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
See
Bye.
you.